All right. That was a nice video.
Yeah, very nice. I love how we are moving toward being able to put on these online events really seamlessly these days. And the
We're
hope is
good at it.
that the two of us are going to be able to seamlessly insert ourselves into today's event. I'm going to go ahead and share the slideshow that we have going on for today's orchestra centered clinic.
Ooh, ooh.
Today, we're going to be talking about maximizing student centered instructional approaches in the orchestra classroom while also tapping into the region's rich musical traditions.
That's a winner.
It's a total winner, and I would say we are very excited to be hanging out with the amazing Louisiana music educators. You'll learn a little bit about these two ladies in the top right hand corner of the screen in just a sec. What we got here in this picture are some local, and by local I mean Louisiana music makers, heritage bringers, and fiddlers. And you will be learning about a couple of these folks as we get more into our presentation today.
I'm getting hungry.
I know, I know. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Elizabeth Fortune, and I am the director of orchestras at Ballard High School in Seattle. And I'm also the chair for the National Orchestra Council, or Council for Orchestral Education, formally. And this is a national committee, and it's part of NAFME. And so I'm so excited to be a part of this LMEA event, which is also part of NAFME. It's really great to serve. I'm also the director of education for a very large scale folk music event that happens in the Pacific Northwest called Wintergrass. And it's afforded me lots and lots of opportunities to get to know lots of folks all over the country, heritage bringers and music makers. And so I'm really excited to talk a little bit about some of the folks that are right in your neck of the woods. My email is right there and in the chat for connecting with me in the future if you'd like to do that.
Hey, that's me. I'm Kelly Klingen. I am the education director at Seattle Jazz Ed, which is a jazz nonprofit in Seattle. And I'm also serving as the jazz curriculum officer for Washington's MEA. And also am serving as the Washington area unit president for JEN, the Jazz Education Network. And so you can see that all three of my job postings are jazz related. And I am not teaching in the public schools anymore. But Beth and I came together. We met when we were the music department at Washington Middle School in Seattle. And at that time, I had 4 concert bands and 1 jazz band. And Beth had 4 concert orchestras. And when we were done teaching together there, had basically a string jazz band. So we had parallel schedules and taught together at least once a week with all of our kids combined. And so although it seems a little odd that there would be a jazz band person presenting on String Day, I actually have done more presenting for ASTA, the American String Teachers Association, than anything else, because I've become a bit of a string jazz specialist from my work with Beth. And what I'm finding very interesting as we launch into this presentation is that Beth and I have both been serving Beth at Wintergrass, a nonprofit, and me at Jazz Ed, a jazz nonprofit, while we were also co-teaching at a public middle school. And so bringing those two worlds together is something that we have a lot of experience doing, and doing it together. And so that is a real natural way that we came to this work, and now are able to help you all do it too.
Yes, and we will be digging into this concept of courageous collaboration, and that literally is how Kelly and I got to where we are. Don't think that it's not lost on us that two ladies from Seattle are currently speaking with folks in Louisiana about Louisiana music. So we've together been able to insert ourselves into things that are going on nationwide. And it's been a very cool ride, and it's all about courageous collaboration. And we're going to be talking about that. So let's go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
So there is a pretty famous dude. His name is Hunter Hayes. He's a multi-genre singer, kind of fits right within that pop country slot a little bit. Singer, songwriter, record producer, multi-genre artist, Hunter Hayes. And this is a quote from Hunter, okay? Hunter is currently like in high demand. He's played on the radio, but he got his start in rural Louisiana. Okay, he says, I'm from Louisiana, and that's where I got my start in Cajun music. There's a huge music scene down there centered around our culture. Those are people that are not making music for a living. They are making music for the fun of it, and I think that's the best way I could have been introduced to music. Hunter Hayes took the spirit of what he was entrenched in growing up in Louisiana, and took that and manifested it into the amazing star that he is now. And he's creating his own art, but he started right there in Louisiana, engaging in the culture around him, which abounds. Mm-hmm. And he was empowered to go out and become the artist that he is now. And I hope that that is inspirational to all of us. It certainly is to me. So today we're going to touch on, in a very short amount of time, 4 different topics. First, we're going to talk about the heart of student-centered teaching in the orchestra classroom. What does a student-centered approach look like? Okay, what does it even look like? Mm-hmm. Then we're going to talk about the heart of Louisiana, okay? Bringing Louisiana culture and Culturebearers into the school music community. We have some ideas for you. We've gathered some resources and some folks who are just chomping at the bit, ready to get involved in the classrooms of music teachers and string teachers in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. If we have time, we're going to introduce a tune that actually could hit go on this right away in your orchestra classroom when things start up next week. And then a very nice list of awesome ideas and resources for you to go ahead and take advantage of.
And if we don't get that far, this PowerPoint you have access to, and all of the links to those resources, etc., are in the presentation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you're going to want to find this PowerPoint.
Download it, yo.
That's right. Okay, so let's talk about student-centered. And this is kind of how Kelly and I maneuvered in our classroom for many, many years in our music program. She was in the band room next door. I was in the choir and orchestra room in room 9. And we really kind of focused our energies on being collaborative and fostering independence in our students through collaboration. Okay.
Right.
So
the idea is kids like to do.
Kids like to do.
Number one, if they are doing it, they are having fun. Kind of no matter what it is. If they're in the act of making music, if they're doing, they're having fun.
And if they're doing, it's real. So if they are creating projects that are real, that lead to actual things, those things could be performances. Those things, the idea of what a performance is changing live time in this online world that we now exist. If kids are creating something real, they are going to have much more buy-in.
They're connected to it.
Be connected to it. And we want students to totally want to go and connect with music, engage with music, make music, appreciate music, interact with people through music. And the goal is that they do that, and they want to do that after they leave the walls of the classroom. Okay?
Fostering lifelong music makers.
That's right.
We all know. And maybe it's a hard reality to confront, but we know that all of our students are not going to go be professional musicians. Of course we know that.
Right.
But we don't want, when they decide their time in the school music room is over, we don't want their time being with music to be over. So we have to give them skills. We have to do it every single year. We have to give them skills to be able to engage in music for the rest of their life. So we don't want to wait until they're advanced high schoolers for them to be gathering skills about how to collaborate, right? We want to be doing that from the day they pick up their instrument, the first day.
And how to initiate on their own, collaborative yet independent. And we need to move our view of who we are as the educator from the person who is bestowing upon the orchestra or the Eurocentric symphony. We want to move away from being that all-knowing, omnipotent wielder of the stick.
Right.
Being the facilitator, how do we extract students' musical desires and help bring them to life? That is the mindset that we want to start fostering. One of those ways is to honor student voice. And you wonder, how do you do this in an orchestra classroom? How do you do this in an orchestra? I would love to honor student voice, Kelly, but I got a concert to put on. We have a concert to go to.
How many times did we say that to each other back in the day, right? Honoring student voice was becoming a very trendy topic just when we were starting to co-teach. And I remember we would be at faculty meetings and, you know, the language arts teachers would be eating this up, right? And then we'd have kind of a salty walk back to our classrooms afterwards, like, we don't have time for that. We have a we have a festival or student voice. What's this hippy dippy stuff? And here we are now, all years later, realizing how important it is.
How important it is to just start. And when you start, you then start finding that you begin having results almost immediately.
And you also start realizing that you as a teacher are having a lot more fun than you used to.
A whole lot more fun.
So much more.
So as stated previously, Kelly and I live by a motto, and that motto is kids like to do. And when kids are engaged in doing something that's real, and if they have a stake in it, they are going to be more affected by it. They are going to want to engage in music making and appreciating in the future when they inevitably leave your classroom. So our challenge to orchestra teachers everywhere, not just in Louisiana, but everywhere, is get ready to step off the podium.
Grab your axe.
That's right. Grab your axe. We are teachers. We do have a lot of answers. But if we start looking in that facilitator, looking through the lens of the facilitator, what we're going to realize that we also have skills in is creating scaffolding, if you will, for our students to succeed within different types of activities that do foster student voice. Okay, so I'm using the scaffolding language in these bullet points below, and I'm going to go ahead and read some of these off. Within parameters, and parameters are based on your students' skill level and their age.
Yep.
Students can choose repertoire and can contribute to concert programming. With guidelines, students are able to plan and execute events. With coaching, students can conduct and or lead with chamber technique. With supports, students can teach each other. With courage, and this is sometimes the hardest one, can be willing to place themselves in the learner role along with the students. And as evidenced in the program that Kelly and I ran for many years together in the Central District of Seattle, with time, a culture of coolness and collaboration can be created. And putting in the time needed to create that culture is also imperative.
Mm-hmm. I want to add that if people have more questions or want any of those categories expanded upon, that you and I do have a podcast where we talk about all of these topics in a lot of depth.
Yes, and there is a link to that podcast in a later slide.
Oh, perfect. Well, you're so on it, dude.
So, okay. Another one of our new mottos that Kelly and I live by right now is courageous collaboration. Okay. Yeah. There's collaboration. There's like, oh yeah, I did a concert with the band director and we each set up in the gym and we played. That's collaboration.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's time to go deeper.
It's time to go deeper. Kelly and I made a courageous decision to very much entrench almost everything we did. And some of you on this webinar right now, you actually might be the band director and orchestra director all at the same time. This is a really great invitation for you to entrench your whole entire music program and bring everybody together. What does courageous collaboration look like in the orchestra classroom? And these are just some ideas. Kelly, you probably have more that you can spout off too.
Sure.
But in the building, you are collaborating with your colleagues to create cool events and learning opportunities for all students. Okay? If Michael Dewey is coming in, why should the band kids not get to meet and listen to Michael Dewey play some fiddle?
At a minimum.
At a minimum.
Maybe it's an all-school assembly where you're providing some resources to other classes for ways that they could be also engaged. Maybe you have the French teacher talking about the concept of Creole languages. What if you have language arts teachers pulling out some primary source readings or poems on the topic, right? I mean, there are ways that we have a lot to learn from our elementary teaching companions when it comes to collaborating with the building. right? You know, putting on an all-school assembly or an event centered
And
around.
remember, kids like to do.
Yeah.
So how do you make that real? Well, on a later slide, there's a link to a grant that you can get for up to $7,000. You want to make this real? Hire Beausoleil. Hire Beausoleil and tell them, I want to have a collaborative concert where your students are making music with Michael Doucet and Beausoleil. Okay? And you're going to actually put on a real performance.
Put on a show.
Put on a show.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's talk a little bit about the school community. Our students come with the coolest heritages ever. The kids sitting in your classroom holding an instrument, holding a violin or a viola or a cello or a bass, they come with a history of amazingness. They do so up in Seattle, but I'm guessing that down in Louisiana, there's some amazing stories coming from the kids that are sitting in your classroom. They have families, they have connections to their communities, and courageous collaboration means that you are dipping into the cultures and the families of your students, of the kids in your program. And they are coming and sharing stories. They are coming and sharing culture. They are bringing their heritage into your classroom. They are taking your students outside of the classroom and sharing heritage. So courageous collaboration.
I know that we'll talk about this some more later, but it feels important to mention now in this time where more and more people are starting to talk about DEI and people are becoming more and more aware of songs that we're playing in our classrooms that have you know, a history of in being minstrel songs, etc. You know, a lot of our repertoire choices are under a lens right now, as they should be. And I'm hearing a lot of conversations about what is the difference between appreciation and appropriation, and more people are concerned with that now, which is fantastic. The way around that, folks, the way to present music to your students that you don't feel like you're an expert in is to bring in culture bearers. They don't always have to be professional musicians. They can be parents of your students who can tell you and teach you about the culture whose music you are learning, because the way that we are not appropriative is twofold. We have to on the one hand take a deeper dive than simply playing the song, right? We need to unpack the history and the culture surrounding that song, and also we need to bring in culture bearers so that our students are being invited to be a part of this culture that they're learning about and learning from primary sources. That's right. And that's how we do a better job of what we're being asked, rightly so, to do right now.
Absolutely. And then the third pillar here is the Louisiana connection. And I can tell you that, at least from our perch up in the northwest corner of this country, the state of Louisiana is a national treasure trove of musical gold. Okay. Living tradition is everywhere you look in this state. Okay. For courageous collaboration, this is a trifecta right here. Dip into your building, your school community, and the state where you live, and you are going to find that you are really bringing...
Surrounded. Yeah.
That's right.
Set up for success big time.
That's right. So music is the heartbeat of Louisiana, as you all know. For some reason, my video connection is not working, and hopefully people can still see this PowerPoint.
We can see the PowerPoint. I can just see only my face.
Okay, that's fine for now. So music is the heartbeat of Louisiana. And also, I'm going to point out that a lot of times the music of Louisiana includes a string instrument and a bow. Okay. And so, as string teachers, we are just like so lucky that we have here in Louisiana this amazing resource of bowed stringed instrument music that is, it makes people around the world want to
hop on a plane and come have a party.
Want to hop on a plane. Literally. This is what Kelly and I do. We hop on a plane and we head down to Louisiana.
You know, so, isn't it reassuring that you can slide an orchestra into Louisiana music traditions with full authenticity. You don't even have to worry about it, right?
Right. Because violin or bowed stringed instruments were kind of a part of this from the get-go.
From the get, yeah.
It's really neat. And across the board of quite a few different cultures represented in Louisiana, bowed strings makes an appearance in almost every aspect. And so how awesome is it that we are bowed stringed instrument teachers, and there is this super cool resource right here in the heart of Louisiana. So on this next slide is a link, and that link goes to a recording on Google Drive. And that recording is this tune, Real Dejoie. And it's a tune made famous by the Cajun fiddler Dewey. And I have this queued up, and I'm going to play a little bit of it right now. Hopefully you can hear it, and hopefully it plays a little bit. The bandwidth is a little bit tight, so I don't think we're going to be able to play all of it, but it's going to give you an idea of what it sounds like, and you'll literally be wanting to party. Okay, so here we go. Let's.
That was enough for me to want to party.
I mean, seriously, that was enough for me to like literally want to get in a car, drive to SeaTac, and head down to Louisiana. Like, I just need to do that. I need to do that. I want to party. And that,
you know, as soon as you hit play, it took a split second for me to start thinking, how could I move this music into the world of jazz students, right? I'm already thinking like, okay, how do we get a saxophone involved? Where do we put a trombone? Like, how do we do this? How do we make this something I can get my students involved with? It's fun to start thinking about the possibilities.
And it's Louisiana is a place of such sharing of culture. There's Cajun musicians that collaborate with jazz musicians and create all kinds of different music. Yes, absolutely. Let's add some saxophone. Let's figure it out. But at the very least, what we got is a very cool fiddle tune by Dewey,
which is totally ready for a string orchestra.
It's ready for a string orchestra. I'm going to show you some resources associated with it in a moment. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about Dewey. Dewey lived from 1927 to 1992, so he was doing his thing relatively not too long ago, and has influenced numerous people who have gone out there and continue to share the Cajun and Creole fiddling traditions, as well as, you know, like Hunter Hayes, take an idea and then go create your own thing.
And this is a picture that you show your class when you're talking about Dewey and you're teaching this song. And you will have kids who notice in this picture that Dewey is crushing the egg. And Miss Fortune, you tell us not to. And then you get to have a conversation about why. And right, there's so many directions we get to go when we don't keep these things from our students.
So many things. And it's just, it's just brilliant. So a couple of tidbits about Dewey. He's an American Cajun fiddler and singer. He's pretty famous as being one of the folks featured in that famous 1964 Newport Folk Festival. He brought Cajun music to the masses this way. But he was born in the heart of Cajun country, Mamo, Louisiana. And he was a son of Louisiana sharecroppers, which is a whole entire historical thing to unpack about the state of Louisiana. He has a spot in the 1981 movie Southern Comfort, and he learned his fiddle traditions and singing traditions and language traditions from his family, his father specifically, the fiddle and singing from his grandmother. And this is how these traditions are still handed down in the Cajun communities. So I am going to quickly share screen so that I can show you the music for this chart. And what I've got is a melody chart and a harmony chart. They're both in treble. Okay, so
my suggestion, Beth, while you're doing that, is that teachers, you use these lead sheets for yourself to learn the melody and harmony, and then I would recommend teaching it by rote to your students and getting a basic sense of the song, learning it by ear, and then later introducing this written music to your students. That would be my recommendation. I think it's it gives your students a similar experience to how Dewey would have been learning the songs.
Absolutely. And actually, it's not letting me, this works. It is not letting me share screen. So I'm not going to be able to do that. But what we have here are notes for the melody and notes for a very characteristic harmony. So twin fiddle style harmony. Yep. You can divide the whole entire orchestra up on these two things. And since everyone's learning it by ear, you don't have to worry about transposing it to alto clef or bass clef. But on this next slide, this touches on a little bit about what Kelly was just talking about, okay? When you're teaching the tunes, and this totally caters to learning it in the way that Dewey would have learned it and taught it, okay? So phrase by phrase, by ear, we call that knee to knee. Students are sitting knee to knee and teaching each other phrase by phrase, or a culture bearer is sitting knee to knee with another student or the whole class and is sharing culture phrase by phrase, okay? Culture bearers will teach by playing. So when you, the teacher, are teaching a tune like this and doing it in that style, you need to have your instrument there, and your instrument needs to be the primary voice. So you teach,
and your instrument will be your voice at some part too when you're teaching singing.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely, yes. One thing that I learned through collaborating for years with Kelly is that I don't know why orchestra teachers have this tendency to go it alone, but I'm telling you, my life was completely transformed by having rhythm section. Drums, guitar, bass line. Figure out how to do it. If you need to write a grant to get people in to be your rhythm section, or maybe the band director will share the jazz band rhythm section players with you like Kelly did for me. We built a culture around the rhythm section was part of both programs, the jazz program and the strings program.
Or maybe in the beginning you just have a couple of kids who probably already play guitar for fun at home.
That's right.
And
or
that's
you,
what they do. Yeah.
if you play guitar, grab a guitar. After you teach phrase by phrase, grab a guitar and play that chord progression. Teach the bassist in your orchestra a simple bass line on tonic chords and what have you. And
depending on the age and ability of students, it might just be playing a whole note roots.
That's right.
It can be very simple.
But I'm telling you, having something strummed when you're playing this kind of music is very, very helpful. So please, 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 please do it. Please do it that way. It'll make it so much more fun for everybody. Okay. As Kelly touched on earlier, when teaching a tune this way, show the notation after learning the tune by ear.
Maybe never. I mean, you don't have to show the notation ever.
Or you can just give it to the kids to keep in their folder in case they forget like a phrase or something like that. But once they have that in their ear, they're going to be able to take it and then in this next one, consider improv, consider soloing, consider innovating and making that melody their own.
And, we would teach the melody to everyone in the room. So bass players, cellists, they would be learning the melody, everyone melody first, right? And, we would get all the kids in on whatever the groove was, even if they weren't the drummer. And then we would get everyone involved on the harmony. So all of our students would be learning the structure of the song, not through a worksheet, but through playing the roots of the chords and now the thirds and now the fifths and now the sevenths. And let's and arranging on the fly, right? Let's have all the violins and flutes. Why don't you all play the sevenths? Let's toss cellos. Anyone that reads a bass clef, let's toss you all on the roots. And, we play it through that way. Okay, now quarter notes, everyone, right? And I'm not hearing enough thirds. Can we get some more people down on thirds? Really activated.
Basically, this way you are demystifying and unlocking music theory for your students and composition and arranging. It's literally a package deal here with like the standards. If you are a person that is interested in utilizing the standards, this is the artistic process kind of wrapped into a package. And it's student voice. If they have a voice in how the arrangement of your group's performance of this piece goes, that means it's real. That means the kids are doing. That means that...
And it means they know how to leave your classroom and do this with other humans someday.
That's right. That's right. Someday you might be, walking into a restaurant or a coffee shop and somebody might be playing music and you might look and see, oh my God, that was that kid in the thus and so year orchestra that played viola. And here they are, putting on a show in a real venue.
And it happens to us all the time. So
it happens to us all the time. And it's really, I honestly believe it's because we empowered students with these types of skills to go ahead and feel empowered to be music creators and performers on their own outside of the walls of the classroom.
They already know what they need to know to be able to do all of these things if you are collaborating and if you are getting away from written music, from day one, beginning band, beginning orchestra. They're ready to do it from the beginning.
they are ready, and it's really just about the approach, because students will go along in life thinking, oh, orchestra people don't do this. We play music on a page and we play classical. So orchestra doesn't do this. So I guess I can't do this because orchestras don't do that. And, I think many of us, and myself included, are probably guilty over the years of fostering that kind of attitude in my classroom, when it's very, very far from the truth. It's very, very far from the truth. And as Kelly and I have realized over the years, string kids actually will excel in the improv arts.
They will be your best improvisers.
They will be the best improvisers when they are given the proper mindset to practice and develop on their own. So we are getting short of time.
As always.
To share that we have gathered a ton of different resources for you, okay? One is the book, Culturally Responsive Teaching in Music Education from Understanding to Application. This is a textbook type of book, but it's very short, and it's a very good read. It's written by two ladies, kind of like Kelly and I, who collaborated for many years and discovered a whole bunch of stuff. So you're going to want to hear what they have to say. Vicki Arland and Constance McCoy.
I reread it every summer. I am in the middle of it right now.
That's right. It's a great book. NAFME has a collaboration with the Library of Congress. You heard Kelly talking about primary sources, right, earlier in this presentation. Here is a set of curricula for all types of ages and all types of ensembles that is ready for you to hit go on, and it utilizes primary sources coupled with the standards and the skills of inquiry. So you're going to want to check that out. This assessment guide by Denise Odegaard and Margaret Berg has a plethora of ready to hit go, like you can download from that link, assessments that all of them incorporate student voice. Seattle Public Schools has put together, and this is just a little tip of the hat to where we are here in this Pacific Northwest region. They've put together a roots framework for the arts. This is a very powerful document. Open it up and read it, okay? Beth and Kelly Show, this is the link to our podcast, and we do this every Friday. It's a teacher happy hour. We also do it on Facebook. This is the link to the actual podcast. We also do it on Facebook Live, so look us up on Facebook Live.
The Beth and Kelly Show, baby.
Yes, that's right. And then NAFME has also, kind of similar to this assessment guide by ASTA, NAFME has a bunch of ready to hit go cornerstone assessments that all incorporate student voice and student-centered resources. So you're going to want to check that out. I've created a very awesome list of folks in the greater Louisiana area who are educators, artists, and culture bearers. And they are all people who are right there. They are able to hop on a Zoom or hop in their car.
Yeah, just down the road.
That's right. And they want to share their culture with teachers in Louisiana, okay? So please click on these. David Greeley, Mitch Reed, Cedric Watson, Mark Palms. Click on these. Dan Wally Baker, dance instructor. Oh my goodness, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. Get in touch with these people. Bring them into your classroom.
And you can afford it. You know, if you take your fund that you have set aside to spend next year on sheet music at JW Pepper, just take that money and hire a couple of people to come work with your kids.
Absolutely.
You will have more resources.
I'm going to show you how to get a little bit of money right now. This is a project grant for people who are from like residents of Louisiana. So you can get up to $7,000. And this is like literally money that you can use to hire any of those people. Michael Doucet, Gina Forsyth, Cedric Watson, whoever. You get them into your classroom, they're going to give you money to pay for it. Okay. The deadline is August 31. Watch this instructional YouTube and then click on here to start your grant. Do it. Get these people into your classroom. This is an amazing grant that is available to people from Louisiana. Okay. Share is that sometimes we are bound and determined to get things rolling in the way we know how. Okay. Well, I've curated for you a couple of charts that you can get at J.W. Pepper that are scored for string orchestra. This is Red Pepper by Jeffrey S. Bishop. This is in the style of Cajun music, and it's about a 1.5 to grade 2 level. And then this You Little Wild Thing, La Bataille, which is a Michael Doucet piece arranged by fiddler Daryl Anger. This is more of a grade 3 type of thing. These are both, you can purchase them right this second from J.W. Pepper. And if you want to go that route, you can hit go on that right away for your fall concert.
And maybe bring a couple of locals in to play, you know, a couple of professional musicians to come in and join your students or something like that. That could
right,
be really
to round out the show. Yeah, you could have a whole themed presentation, a Louisiana themed concert. So Kelly and I really want to thank you for your time today. We are available by email for you to ask any questions or meet and talk through things. Just reach out. Thank you to Louisiana Music Educators Association for this wonderful opportunity. And ready, set, go. Thanks,
put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's right.